I don't need to change anything, or I'll just keep doing the same thing. And they keep getting the same result year after year. And I think it's like 9% of people will achieve their New Year's resolutions. There's a famous adage, and I can't remember where I heard this from, but it goes something to the effect of you can have whatever you want, you just can't have it all at the same time. And I feel like this may have been something Greg Admonson said to me during a goal setting certification that CrossFit was running back in 2011. They don't do this anymore. I don't think it turned out to be very profitable because people really reduce goal setting to a simple, like, either do it or don't. And you're like, well, there's probably some planning that should make your life a little bit easier so you don't get overwhelmed, which we know is very easy in 2025, 2026, whereas there's so much information available and it's all true. That's the problem. You'll hear someone say that smoking causes cancer. You'll hear someone else say that smoking kills bacteria. It's just the context and the use case more often than not that determines the accuracy and the efficacy of the information you're using. And so that's where having a coach is so valuable, because just like GPS has turn-by-turn guidance, a coach can better contextualize and take in a lot of information they already have, and they can help you apply what your specific situation is, the information that's most relevant to that. So when it comes to goal setting, again, whatever you want, but there does have to be a certain amount of resource allocation that you have at various times. If you try to gain and lose weight, aka lean bulk, like, it kind of that's a bit of a challenge, although gaintaining is a thing, but without nuanced information, which most of the people that are looking for a New Year's resolution and going to join a gym and go down that route in January, they're probably not hip to that. They probably just like, hey, I hate how I look. The holiday season, it's a very emotional time. And now I hate how I've fallen off the wagon, or really, looking at myself in the mirror. Next year is going to be the year. And we want to help them capitalize on making sure that this is the last year that they have to really start from the studs.
If you've spent the past 5 years becoming the version of yourself you don't love, just like lock in, hey, for the next 5 years, I want to become the version of myself that I do love, right? So whatever that takes, chances are it won't take 5 years for you to get to where you want to be, especially as you start to like learn through things. But I know early in my journey, I'm like, hey, I want to be this by next year. And I think the picture I had in mind of this is what will happen this coming year is where I'll get to that phase. I generally look at like, hey, I want to go and get stronger, perform better, do this thing in this avenue. So that's like a bulk season for me, right? Because I need to eat more in order to be able to like do those things. Mm-hmm. And then after you put on a couple of LBs and it's time to like reduce the thing, like, all right, it's time to do a cut. But at the same point, like my upcoming cut, it needs to support like jujitsu 2 to 3 times a week, really putting a good effort towards there, getting a good foundational layer of reducing like body fat per se. Dude, I start eating 3,500, 3,700 calories and I don't enjoy life. I don't sleep as well. I'm full. My stomach doesn't feel like, just all of these things. And I can gain muscle pretty easily and pretty quickly, thankfully. But I also don't enjoy it. In order for me to keep going at this point, I got to go higher than where I don't enjoy life. Mm-hmm. So I almost have this lever of like, I need to lower my basal metabolic rate a little bit so I can go back to gaining muscle from 3,000 to 3,500 calories again. Otherwise, I can't keep going anymore. And I know that about myself.
When you're pursuing something and you want to achieve it in a meaningful amount of time, you have to be willing to give up progress or positions in other areas, unless you have inexhaustible resources to include time, budget. I mean, that's probably effort, bandwidth. I think that those are really important assets that you have to consider on a scale of 1 to 10. And I heard this first from Andy Galpin. It's called the inventory. And he puts it in 4 categories that he uses with his MMA fighters. And he'll say, okay, cool. You have 10 points. So if you're listening right now, or if you're seeing it, how many fingers do you have? You probably have 10. Some people might have 9. Some people might have 5. I don't know what your finger situation is. And if you don't have 10, I'm sorry. We're not ableists here, excessively so, unless we're talking about performance. This is already going too far off. 10 points, right? You can allocate them. And I would invite everyone to go ahead and take a second, pause this video as you're going through this exercise. But you have basically your relationships is column number 1, right? You have your fitness, your recovery, and then your work. Those are the 4 columns that you can allocate. Now you have 10 points to spend. You can put them all 10 in work if that's your current priority, but I encourage people to do this. How are you currently spending your time versus how do you think you should be spending your time or your attention or your resource? And each point represents those things. And so I think in the last year for me, I probably put about 6 points in my work column. I put about 3 points in my fitness column. I put about 1 point in my recovery column, and I put no points in my relationship column. Makes sense why I was single until recently. And so, when you think about the nature of if you want to build a family and if you want to do those things, then you might have to take points out of your fitness band, out of your fitness column, and reallocate those into your relationships. If you're feeling lonely and depressed, look at how you're spending your time, which I think that, Steve brought up a good exercise called a time study that also might really help you understand where you're putting your attention as it relates to making meaningful progress. I mean, Steve, you want to walk people through what a time study is another potential exercise to help people focus and identify where they're having some opportunities to make some progress.
The very short version is you would effectively put down on a piece of paper in a Google Sheet somewhere from the point in time you wake up to the point in time you go to bed, every 15-minute marks. Let's say you wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, it's 6:15, 6:30, 6:45, 7 o'clock, all the way until you go to bed at 9 p.m. at night of 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, and then 9. And every 15 minutes, you would literally, for roughly a week, write down what you were doing in that block. And then you can go back and you look very high level. Are you working, being productive? Are you taking care of yourself? Things like that. Are you building relationships? What is it that you're doing? And you just quantify those buckets of information and like, hey, good or bad? Am I happy with how I spent my days? Am I not? And it's not a feel bad about it. It's just be realistic about it. My belief is most people don't actually use their time wisely. Therefore, that's a major contributor to not actually accomplishing their goals. But a lot of people also have to realize, hey, I can get just as much done as the next guy. I just suck at switching tasks way more than this person does. And you might realize you and I spent the same amount of hours working. I just got more work done. But you'll see me, I worked, on and off 12 hours, 4 days a week, but I task switched the crap out of them and it worked. Whereas Andrew, if Andrew task switches, nothing's getting done. Like
a lot gets done. It takes a long time to get to the finish line, though. It'll happen like 6 months.
I don't know about that. But so you just want to understand what you're doing and be able to take a realistic look and just, hey, is this the total amount of time I want to contribute towards accomplishing whatever I care about accomplishing? Right. And if it's on a Sunday and you're like, football Sunday, the only thing I want to accomplish is sitting on the couch watching football. Cool. Did you do that? That's not a bad thing. But just know what's the primary focus and are those the outcomes you're trying to create from that perspective. And I think this is business, this is fitness, this is life, this is cooking, this is hobbies, this is relationships, this is friends. Whatever the thing is you want to be doing, you care about all. That would be your quick and dirty version of a time study.
I mean, and when you think about how you spend your time today is going to be a very strong indication of what you're likely to accomplish. If you spend a lot of time on social media scrolling, you're probably going to get really good at scrolling on social media. That's probably about it. And so I was having this conversation with Elizabeth the other day, and I was like, hey, have you ever looked at your screen time? And if you want to do a quick audit and shock yourself a little bit into, holy shit, take your phone, if you have an Apple, and you can go into your settings and you can go all the way down, and there's a little side tile that says screen time, and you can click on screen time, and hopefully you have it enabled at the bottom if you don't turn it on, and it'll start to show you how much time you're spending on various applications and how many times you're having to pick up your phone or how many times you are picking up your phone during the day. And I believe, and she just had like a weird week, but she had somewhere in the neighborhood of 244 pickups. I don't know about you, but if I have to code switch, and basically what Steve is saying is I have such crippling ADHD that if I don't block and ignore everything else, I really struggle to focus. And this is why I'm arguably probably one of the hardest people to get a hold of, is because I usually take a second. It takes me a minute to get into a flow state. Once I'm in a flow state, get really creative, high production. And if anything comes in, I'm just derailed. It'll tell you what your average app is that you open on your first pickup, how many minutes you're spending on each app, yada, yada. And every time you switch tasks, you lose 1/8 of a second of your attention. It's called an attentional blink. And so now imagine that you're trying to focus and get something done. You're like, oh, I just really suck at focusing. And then you look at your screen pickups and you have 500 on average a day. You might not actually be ADHD, which I think is arguably one of the most overdiagnosed things today. You're starting to look at how you're spending your time. And this allows you to go back to the buckets of like, well, if I say, and this is one of the most shocking examples I've heard that I think really drives the point home. A mother of four will tell you that her priority is her children, but she'll go to the gym for 3 hours a day because she's getting ready for a physique competition. Probably not her priority, frankly, if that's how she's spending her time. Not
Which, by the way, isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It just highlights a lack of awareness around what the priorities are. And I think that that's one of the biggest gaps, at least that I see. Sorry to interrupt you, but like, it's just one of those things that frustrates me. It was like, oh, you're such a terrible, no, you're not a terrible person. Just be more aware of what the priorities really are and totally be good with that.
Yeah, it's just the alignment. And that's why we say the first step when it comes to goal setting is defining the outcome and identifying the trade-offs. Because if you want to be an IFBB pro, that might not be, I mean, you have to inherently be selfish to perform at a high level. That's just the nature of it. If you want to be an Olympic athlete, and I'm saying obviously there are outliers, there are exceptions, but the exception is not the general rule of thumb. Like you'll find a mother of four that's an Olympic athlete, crushes it. That's not the norm, right? And so when we think about this, we always want to reduce the risk of failure and increase the chances of success. And how do we do that? Well, we want to set up as much of our bandwidth, our attentional focus as we can, which is why people do things like put sticky notes on their mirror, right? They'll put little reminders and memorabilia across their workspace so that way they can help them get queued up and remember what they're trying to achieve so they're not wasting and squandering precious time on different things. But once you identify the outcomes, identify the trade-offs and be realistic with, do I really want to give that up? If you want to lose weight and you don't want to give up Friday, Saturday night binge drinking with your friends because it helps you feel socially fulfilled, maybe that's just a season of life you're in. And maybe you should then either recalibrate your expectations or look at where else you can make up some of that progress. But that's what we say. You can have whatever you want. You just usually will struggle to do it all well at the same time. You can do them all kind of poorly.
Just fast every Monday all day for 36 hours and you'll undo all the drinking.
You could probably look at that as a function of definitely reducing your overall calorie consumption for sure. And that might actually be something that becomes a viable strategy for some people. But what you can't really do is look at that from a health perspective, because if your goal is to lose weight, and depending on the rationale for that, is it medically indicated? Are you being told by your physician that you need to lose weight? Or is this something that, you know, you want to look better on the beach or you want to feel more comfortable in your skin? In which case, I mean, sure, if it's not medically indicated and you're not doing it to improve your health status or reduce your risk of randomly dropping dead, sure, fasting Monday might be an easy way to make up another 3,500 calories that you consumed Friday night, Saturday night from the 20 drinks that you had, which may average, you know, roughly, I think, an ounce of alcohol, an ounce like a shot. But anyways, but one drink, usually like just the alcoholic component, is going to be about 100 calories, 90 to 100 calories. And so when we know calories in, calories out, like we're looking at, again, energy balance, depending on what you look at. Oh man, I can't wait for the hormone people to jump in here. Man, I'll smack y'all up good. Come in the comment section. It becomes a law of averages. If you have more on this day, have less on another day. And that's as complex as it can be for people that just want to make some simple inroads. But this is where like the third step is, you know, number one, define the outcome. Number two, identify the trade-offs. If you accept the trade-offs, you accept the cost. That's like buying something and you know how much it's going to cost. You don't want to buy something, sign your life away. And then, you know, if you buy a new car, they're like, hey, it's $1,000 a month. You're like, okay, cool. That's easy. You think it's like 48 months or a 4-year term. Next thing you know, I saw this on social media. People were signing vehicle deals for like 700 months at $300 a month. I've never seen that. And I don't know if these are jokes or not. Imagine paying $300 a month for, $300 a month times 700 months for like a 2016 Camry, right? Like the economics of that just don't make sense. And so when you think about it, like that's what we don't want to have happen though, is that people are like, yeah, I want to be at 6% body fat. Okay, well, if you're at 6% body fat, chances are good some of the trade-offs might be your relationships. You might not want to go out and eat. You might not want to go and be with friends. Like you're going to be grumpy. You may not want to be intimate with your partner because your energy allocation towards hormonal balance may not necessarily be aligned with that. And so when we talk about aligning, again, making sure that things match up, I say I want this, I'm doing these things, those things have to be aligned. If they're not, then that's where using something like the inventory is a good way of saying, how are you spending your focus right now? Okay, all of it's in work, none of it's in your fitness, or all of it's in work, some of it's in my recovery, none of it's in my fitness, and then there's a little bit in my relationships. That's probably going to reflect what your life looks like and the outcomes that you're getting. But looking at your history, you have to identify the obstacles. What has come up? What has derailed you in the past? And that becomes the biggest thing that will set you up for success to actually achieve your goals, is having a plan in place around your failure points, building a system around you as an individual. Me, ADHD, there's a reason why I don't pick up my phone often, because I need to get certain things across the finish line, or I need to get these creative processes done, or God forbid, if I have my phone anywhere near me when I'm reading a research paper, I will read the same page 4 times because I will pick up my phone. It happens unconsciously. And this is the thing we have to have awareness around, exactly what Steve said. I'll pick it up and then I'll look back at my thing. And I'm like, wait, what did I just read? So, but you have to identify the obstacles, and then you create plans and knock down those obstacles one at a time. If you fall off the wagon every week at the 3rd week, you're kind of stupid. If you do your 5th diet and you don't have a plan on how to get back on the wagon after your 3rd week, you've had 4 exposures. You know, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. But that's also, if you are doing the same thing expecting a different result, that's the definition of consistency. And so the biggest operative difference is where your expectations lie. And this is why people get frustrated. I ate 3 salads a day for 6 days in a row and I didn't lose any weight, or, I didn't see any difference in my clothes size. Well, yeah, you need to recalibrate your expectations. Sometimes it takes a little longer than that. And in Steve's case, he had some body composition goals and he also had a performance goal. And so we prioritized the performance goal and knocked that down. And now he's going after the body composition stuff, and obviously in service of the gross simplification. But now it sounds like he's also probably going to start shifting back in her performance a little bit.
Well, and the body composition is actually happening as a byproduct of the performance goal now. The goal isn't even body composition. Mm-mm. Like, oddly enough, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, it very much was that. And now I'm just like, oh, it just kind of happens if I align my expectations with what I want. And in any short-term moment, anybody knows I'd rather be able to beat you than look better than you. 100%. Now I'm going to be able to beat you and look better than you.
100%. I mean, and that's what it always comes down to, is like, if you train like an athlete, you're going to look like an athlete more so. And you're going to also have increased capability. But if you train just to look like an athlete, but you don't train to perform like an athlete, now you're going to have the aesthetic component, but you're not going to have any of the horsepower necessary to drive your car fast. So once you identify the obstacles, now you have regular feedback loops, and then you literally just iterate your way there. You just keep wash, rinse, repeat. What did I do this week? What did I get? Is that what I wanted? No. Okay, then what am I going to change? Do I need to change anything? And that's really the 4 questions of coaching, is like, what do I want? That creates the context. What am I doing? What am I getting? Creates the feedback loop. And then what am I going to change? Creates the iterative, like, okay, I didn't like what I got. What did I do? Okay. And then the last question is, do I need to change anything? Cool. Yes. No. Cool. Carry on. Just keep wash, rinse, repeating that. Do it in an organized fashion. Don't just do a whole bunch of random shit. But that requires the goal setting component of, here are my obstacles. I don't know how to do nutrition. Okay, cool. One obstacle solved to that might be allocating resources to a coach, or it might be going into HICSA or our school network and using some of our ChatGPT bots that we have, or our agents, or whatever they're called these days, and using that and querying that, or going into, some of the other things that Steve's created, and, the app that we're building for ourselves and our community. Like, there's any number of resources. And with AI, that's where you have such an increased resource multiplier, because it can take whatever you're looking at and figure out if it's best for you or not for you. And if you don't know where to go for that, again, like, our community has a lot of great people in there that you can throw these questions out to, or you have a regular feedback loop of like, hey, you hop on one of our calls and throw out a question while we're sitting there waiting for it to get started. And I think that's probably a really good place for most people to get started. Closing thoughts as we wrap up.
When it comes to setting goals as a whole, we're rolling into the new year. It's obviously top of mind, but I think this
Yeah.
is a relevant conversation at any point in time if you find yourself not where you want to be. Are you making progress towards that goal? Or are you not? Are you
Mhm.
acknowledging it? Do you understand it? Like those are all the right times to really think through like what does goal setting look like?
Mhm.
And my experience would be if it took you 5 years to get to where you're at now and you don't like it, set a goal of how do you get back to where you want to be in 5 years. I'm not saying it can't happen more quickly, but to Andrew's point, if you have
Mhm.
10 slashes to dedicate somewhere on a piece of paper, you're going to have to put all 10 of them towards that goal and nothing else if you want to get back there significantly more quickly, which
Yeah.
cool if that's your jam and that's the way that's awesome. Like know it and own it. I've seen people go down and lose 100 pounds, 150 pounds in 1 year. That's
Mhm.
amazing. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the best thing or the worst thing or the right thing or the
Mhm.
wrong thing. That's what that person wanted to do and they accomplished it. And that's what this is really about. Stop giving a shit about what other people think about your goals and whatnot. It needs to serve you and go do the thing and just plan it. Think about it in sequence and like over the course of the next 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years. What are the things that I'd like to do and accomplish and build the
Yeah.
plan and go execute and just what I do, what I get, what I do, what do I get, what do I need to
The
change and just kind of go down that road.
the better your feedback loop is, the faster you'll get there, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have to wait, and this is why most clients drop off the wagon because their feedback loop sucks. This is why the 91% don't accomplish it because they do things, they don't get what they want, but they don't get feedback as to why that's not working. And so now that's what, like, okay, well, I guess it's just, lifting weights 5 days a week for a month doesn't do anything for me. Well, yeah, maybe that in context with eating your face off because now you're going to feel increased hunger because your body's now having more damage to its tissues. Like, yeah, what's your strategy for that? Well, maybe hypervoluminous foods that are lower, a little less calorie dense, like that might be the solve. And so, there's a lot of variables you can stack. The thing that you just want to do is what's the variable? What's the one thing you're changing? What's the one thing you're going to knock down week over week? And if you do that, you can knock down 52 things in a year. And imagine how much further along you'd be in a sustainable way if you adopted 52 new changes in behavior across 2026. Probably about right. So make sure you guys, if you really like the episode, please leave us a review. This is one thing we're really trying to focus on in 2026 is just accumulating some feedback from you guys. Just we would really appreciate the feedback on the App Store or the Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube or whatever that looks like, and we'd love to hear from you. But Steve, what else you got as we
Thank you guys for listening to Beyond the Pump today, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition. We will see you next time, gang.
Peace.